Hello and welcome back. I'm Barbara Opo. Lecture. We're focusing on brain health of us over 40. Our brain is our body's control center, and keeping it sharp is crucial for a vibrant, active life. Brain boosts memory and mental well-being, while challenges in brain function can affect our daily lives. In this video, I'll break down the factors influencing mental health and share practical tips to enhance your brain function. Stick with me till the end for some extra insights you won't want to miss. What God designed is that every decision we make be made according to intellect, judgment, and reason. We have more control over what we think and feel, our thoughts, than we realize that we do. We also had a look at how the enemy of souls desires to take that down. Because if that can be taken down and our limbic system, our emotional brain, not good. When our emotions take over, our ability to make rational decisions suffers. This is what the enemy of souls tries to achieve, causing chaos and confusion within us. We need to recognize this and work to maintain control over our minds and hearts. Developing self-awareness and practicing mindfulness can help us keep our emotions in check. By choosing to respond with reason and intellect, we can stop attempts to disrupt our inner peace. So let's have a look at a couple of mental conditions and see what their cause is. One is schizophrenia. If someone comes to me and says, "Can you help my son?" So my next question is, how old is he? Oh, in his 30s. Has he done recreational drugs? 98% of cases, the answer is yes. So that tells me straight away a part of the brain has been damaged. Because even schizophrenia doesn't just happen. Remember, genetics may load the gun, the trigger, and in some cases, there is a genetic link. That person gives their body all the conditions conducive for peak health. That schizophrenia might need never manifest itself. But one of the conditions for it to be manifested is, yes, taking in the recreational drugs. And of course, comes right in here with temperance. What about panic attacks? Panic attacks just don't happen. There is always a cause. So if someone says to me, "I get panic attacks," intrigued, let's investigate. I come to the point where it first happened, and then I had a look at the surroundings around it happening. And it's quite easy to define it. But what happens is when someone has a panic attack, I'll show you what happens. Usually understandable because it was a crisis. In Ecclesiastes it says, "Heaven, a time to laugh, a time to break down." I think the Seekers made that. Had a song out of it and do everything turn, turn. They made that quite famous. But it's a section from Ecclesiastes. There is a time to panic. In a crisis, it'll give you the energy to run a mile. Running that mile will say I. I read about a little girl who'd been studying tsunamis in school. She was 10, and this was a week before the tsunami hit in Asia. She was on the beach, went in. She immediately knew what it was. "We've just been studying this. It's a tsunami. We're going to move." She told the lifeguard. He blew the whistle. Those people moved, just as well, because no one on that beach was saved. Whereas on other beaches, when they didn't realize what it was, the sea out, intrigued. Now let's say someone on that beach. Let's just choose a lady. And she's known to be a little fragile emotionally. And its toll on her. She ran for her life. A strong effect on her. Strong pathway. When something has a profound effect on us, a very strong pathway is made. That's a physical pathway in the brain. Let's call this lady Sue. They were saved. A few days later, saucepan falls on the ground, and she starts to shake. Her emotions go down that panic pathway. She doesn't realize what's happening. And then as the days go by, she starts to panic more and more, even at little things that don't seem to be very big. Her husband takes her to the doctor. He refers her to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist says, "We found the cause of all your problems. Need to be on medication probably for the rest of your life." Whew. When she goes home, says, "What did he say? To the pathway?" That puts a little bit of Rio in there. He said, "I'll be on panic attack medication for the rest of my life." Oh, you see, the more you go there, the stronger those pathways get. Their physical pathways reminds me of the old saying that repetition deepens the impression. It's really important to recognize how our thoughts and experiences shape our brains. When someone like Sue hears repeatedly that she'll need panic attack medication for life, it reinforces a pattern in her mind. This isn't just about mental resilience. It's about how our brains physically adapt to what we repeatedly think and feel. But there's hope in neuroplasticity, our brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new connections throughout life. This means therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy can help change negative thought patterns that fuel anxiety disorders like panic attacks. Plus, lifestyle factors matter a lot. Sleep and nutrition affect brain function and neurotransmitters levels. While medication can help manage symptoms, it's not the only solution. Taking a holistic approach that considers both mental and physical health often leads to better long-term outcomes for mental well-being. Effect follows cause with unvarying degree all through nature, and never should the effect be blamed as the cause. I had a lady come to me and she said, "Of all my problems, I've got chronic fatigue syndrome." No, that's not the cause of all your problems. Even when someone says, "I've got depression," do you know you can't just get depression? Depression is actually an effect. It is not a cause. There's a very interesting book by an American doctor named Dr. Neil Nedley, with someone else's story showing how they conquered depression using some of the simple principles I'm showing you now, and some of the simple principles I've been showing you all week. Dehydration affects depression. Late nights, depression affect depression. So you can see what we're doing this morning. We're pulling those 8 physical laws we looked at this week, and we're pulling the 8 mental laws together. We should always have our detective off, hat on. Private Detective and I said to him, "Oh, detective, so am I." Work of discovering why someone has a certain condition. It's Newton's third law of motion, equal and an opposite reaction. Proverbs 26:2 states that the curse causeless shall not come. You know what that means? Without a cause. There is always a reason. Just has something is to defy basic science. So we should always be looking at the cause of a problem. And sometimes the problem for depression could be too much coffee, dehydration. So that's the best place to start. Comes to me wanting help with depression. Do you know that's what I do? I said, "Start drinking more water. You could stop your coffee straight away, but you might suffer. A clear indication that it's not doing you any good." I say, start going to bed early. Start limiting your technology time. Start seriously assessing what you're watching and the effect it's having on your brain. Start by looking at how much time you spend on technology and start limiting it. Also, and focus on foods that can positively impact your mental health. Getting enough sleep is crucial too, so try to establish a regular bedtime routine to ensure you're getting adequate rest. Exercise can also help a lot because it releases endorphins that can lift your mood. When dealing with depression, it's important to take a holistic approach. Consider both physical and mental aspects. Reach out to supportive friends, family, or a therapist who can help you identify and tackle the underlying causes. Remember, something that happens. It's usually a mix of different factors. Taking small steps, like practicing relaxation techniques daily, can also make a big difference. Whether it's mindfulness meditation, deep breathing, or doing activities you enjoy, contribute to improving how you feel overall. By taking proactive steps and gradually adjusting your lifestyle, you can manage and potentially reduce depression symptoms. Everyone's journey is different, so be patient and kind to yourself as you work toward better mental health. When I was 19, 20, and the first ward I worked in was an accident victim ward. Or why have we got accident victims in a psych hospital? Because the damage was done to the brain. And once the brain goes, really living, because they were just robots. Because brain function had gone, we've got to look after this brain. God did a good job in giving us a protective structure there. And you might think, what happens when you fall? Doesn't this delicate brain hit against the skull? Well, in His mercy, the brain with 7 layers of fascia. Fascia is like thin balloon material, and between every layer there is fluid. So when you do fall, the problem arises when the head gets continually battered, like the dripping tap on a stone. Damage is sustained. We've got a problem in Australia today. When you in America have ball games, well, we don't have that in Australia. We got a very rough game called rugby league. I don't know if you've ever seen it. But sometimes on the news, you'll see the clips from the game at the end of it. And whoa, people collide and tackle and bang. Well, we've got a problem today. It's actually a nice name for brain damage. And there's stories of players being let off the field because they're just wandering around the field going like this. They've had so many blows, and it's documented today. They've done MRIs, brain from these continually being knocks. The other game is football. Well, we said football to the brain. You might have even seen an interview with a boxer in the latter years of his life. And what are the latter years for a boxer are 50, by the way, to 100. So we have got a strong skull to protect the brain. We have got the fascia and the fluid in there which protects the brain. But our brain has 7 avenues of access. Notice with the skeletal system, your 7 avenues of access. You've got 2 ears, 2 eyes. Everything that goes into those avenues of access has an effect on the brain. Everything we hear or have ever heard is monitored in the brain. Everything we see, us a story. Everything that we eat or drink, or anything else that goes in by the mouth, has an effect on the brain. Everything that enters our avenues of access influences the brain in some way. Our senses are not just passive receivers. They actively shape our perception of the world and affect our brain's functioning. For instance, emotions, or even physical responses. Visual stimuli can trigger complex cognitive processes, from recognizing faces to interpreting details of art or nature. Smells have a profound ability to evoke memories and emotions, often bypassing rational thought and directly influencing our mood and behavior. Taste, too. It can evoke pleasure, nostalgia, all of which are processed and integrated by the brain. Studies also show that our brain's health is influenced by what we consume through our mouths. Nutrition plays a crucial role in brain function, affecting everything from cognitive abilities to mood regulation. Certain substances, like alcohol or drugs, can profoundly alter brain chemistry and function, leading to long-term consequences. Here is a huge deception. A huge deception is there. And just about every television program I know in Australia, we don't watch a lot of television, but sometimes we'll watch a documentary and you see the ads, the most beautiful models drinking their coffee saying, "Oh, this is so good." It's not good. It disrupts the neurotransmitters in the brain. And when it disrupts the neurotransmitters in the brain, it causes a chemical imbalance in the brain. They don't tell you that on the coffee packet, do they? What's a term for depression? I used to work in a psych hospital. They're drinking coffee all day. So why do they give them coffee? Because guess who's drinking coffee? The nurses and the doctors. So why don't they have mental illness? I won't tell you all, but I can tell you now, I was shocked how many are on medication themselves. Lady got very upset with me one day. She said, "I'm a psych nurse, I'm not on medication." I said, "I'm so glad." But there is an element. Caffeine is a deception. It gives you a lift, but not long after that, it's going to give you the dump. To take caffeine for a lift is like taking out a loan to pay off your loan. Eventually, there's a deficit. Definitely a deficit with drinking coffee, and it's right here. Now I've got a warning. If you're drinking coffee, you'll suffer badly. Start reducing. If you have 3 cups a day, start having 3 half cups a day and just slowly reduce it down, because I know everyone here wants to keep this running well. Refined sugar, it causes a fuel imbalance, whereas the caffeine causes a chemical imbalance. Any mind-altering drug is going to interfere with the prefrontal cortex. It's important to understand that the full effects of what we consume, especially substances like caffeine, while it provides a temporary boost in alertness and energy, the consequences on mental health can be significant. Many people are unaware of how caffeine can lead to increased anxiety, disrupted sleep, and mood swings. These effects can compound over time, particularly for those already vulnerable to mental health issues. Switching to healthier alternatives can be beneficial. For example, herbal teas or decaffeinated coffee can provide a similar experience without the negative side effects. Additionally, maintaining a balanced diet rich in nutrients supports overall brain health. Reducing caffeine intake should be done gradually to avoid withdrawal symptoms such as headaches, irritability, and fatigue. Starting with smaller portions and gradually decreasing consumption can ease this transition. Addressing the root causes of why we rely on stimulants like caffeine is crucial. Stress management techniques, regular physical activity, and adequate sleep are fundamental practices that can naturally enhance energy levels and cognitive performance. What nutrition does the brain need? We've looked at the 3 essential nutrients this week. The 3 essentials are fiber. Fiber slowly releases the glucose, so it gives a nice, steady supply. Your best are your vegetables, your fruit, all your plant foods. Best proteins are the plant proteins, your legumes, your nuts and seeds. Fats. One of the biggest deceptions given to mankind over the last 30-40 years is this fat-free diet. It's a crazy diet because the fattiest organ in the body is the brain. Every organ in the body, every cell in the body has a membrane around it, which is 50% fat, but not the brain. And that other 30% comes from this little fatty sheath that surrounds the nerve cell. And that fatty sheath is a myelin sheath. It conducts the messages through it. It protects and it nourishes the nerve cell. So it's a protection that God put there against what he knew would be exposed to today. Chemicals, heavy metals. So if someone's on a fat-free diet, they're on cholesterol-lowering medication because that's like a fatty cholesterol that protects that. So let's say they're on a fat-free diet, cholesterol-lowering medication, and they're eating tuna 3 times a day because they want to put on muscle. And tuna is well known to have mercury in it, and they've got mercury fillings in their mouth. There's no protection. That mercury starts to away at that. That's a big contributing factor to multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, dementia, and Alzheimer's. We've been deceived. Can you see that? That's why any health professional that says to you, "You've got this, you should be on this, thank you so much for your advice. I'm going to seriously consider these things." And then you go home and you do what God says. You don't have the spirit of fear, power, love. What options do I have here? What is another option now? Google has opened the door to inflammation. Information. Just about the internet has opened the door to information. But what also has it done but confusion? In navigating all the information out there, it's important to figure out what's credible and what's not. Look for research-based evidence and get different viewpoints before deciding about your health. Remember, not all advice works for everyone. Be different from someone else's. Adding healthy fats to your diet is key for brain health. Foods like avocados, olive oil, nuts, great sources. These fats help your brain work well, decline, and contribute to overall well-being. Staying hydrated is also crucial. Water helps deliver nutrients to the brain and removes toxins. Aim for at least 8 glasses of water a day and adjust based on your activity level and the climate you live in. Regular exercise supports brain health too. Physical activity increases blood flow to the brain, helps grow new neurons, and reduces the risk of diseases like Alzheimer's. Try to get at least 30 minutes of moderate exercise most days. Managing stress is just as important. Chronic stress can harm your brain and overall health. Practice techniques like mindfulness, deep breathing, and make sure you get enough sleep each night. By considering these factors and making thoughtful choices, you can support your brain's health and function for years to come. Thank you for joining me today as we discussed brain health. I hope you found this information both enlightening and practical for your health journey. If you have any questions or need more details, feel free to ask in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to like this video, our channel for more health insights, and check out our other videos for even more tips on living a vibrant and healthy life.